Good evening and welcome to the pre-season race on behalf of One Hub Racing. This is the P2 tier, or tier P2, however you want to name it. We are here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium, as we'll see a glimpse of what we could expect to see for the next 8 rounds of season 21 of the OHR. My name's Tom Kent in the Conjure Box. Alongside me is someone who is known as Indecisive Mackie, who's just competed in the P4 tier event. It's Matt.
Yes, good evening everybody. It's great to be back in the box, and it's great to be back alongside you to call this pre-season race around Belgium. It's good to be here. How are you doing?
Yes, not too bad, thank you. After a long sort of half season, let's say, of my time over at Formula 1 during the course of 2022, it's nice to have a summer break, to take a few weeks off all the work I've been doing, and to take some time to do some commentary on some online gaming. And what better way to spend it than with you guys in One Hub Racing. The drivers are ready to go, so it's a good opportunity, Matt, to look at who is in the driver lineup in season 21 in the P2 tier. We'll begin with Mercedes. They have Nick Race Egan alongside Colin R. Mason. At Red Bull, we've got XL Larkin and XLJ Cole. At Ferrari, they have Cam K. Mum and Aaron Wyatt. McLaren have Camrals and Waitsy alongside each other. There are no drivers confirmed at Alpine at the moment. Going on to Alpha Tauri, there's Okeke and Jay Luke. At Aston Martin, we've got K-A-I-S-S, or Quace, as I'll know it for now. Lukey is alongside him within Aston Martin. There's JM69YT and Battle Angel at Williams, Schnitzel and Fatality at Alfa Romeo. And finally, Leslie Larson is the sole representative at Haas.
Yeah, some very, very good driver pairings there. And some I'm looking forward to seeing, because I'm not too familiar with them in whether it be this league or other leagues. Don't think I've had the pleasure of seeing them race live, so it's going to be quite interesting for me to learn about them. But there's always going to be room for an error when you have Jay, Luke and Lukey in the same tier. They're usually together on track as well, so that's going to be a commentator's nightmare. So thanks, lads. Here we go again.
Here we go again, indeed. And whilst we wait for some cars to make their way out onto the circuit, we'll take a look on the calendar for this season. There are only 8 rounds in the 21st season of One Hub Racing. Tonight is Belgium for the pre-season race, which does not count towards the championship. We start in Miami in a week's time on the 12th of August, before we go to the Red Bull Ring in Austria on the 19th. And it's Interlagos, Brazil on the 26th. And then we have Imola in September the 2nd, or on September the 2nd, I should say, for round 4. Round 5 takes us to Budapest in Hungary, followed by Barcelona, Spain for round 6. There's Austin on the 23rd of that month, and we conclude at the end of September in Bahrain. Hopefully we'll see the championship go down to the wire for then.
Yes, it will be great to see that, and we usually do here at One Hub Racing, so I'd be surprised if it's over much before the end of the season. But with shorter seasons, there's always that possibility that a driver dominates in the early stages, and it could well be over early. But having said that, I'm sure we'll get some very good racing action between now and the final race of the season, which we've just covered over in Bahrain. So there's a lot to look forward to this season in One Hub Racing, and I can't wait to get started.
So we just see Jay Luke on our screen at the moment on his first outlap in the AlphaTauri, making his way through Stavlo. It's a 7-kilometre circuit. It's this Spa-Francorchamps circuit. It's hosted a round of the Formula 1 World Championship every year since 2007, when they reprofiled the bus stop chicane. And whether it'll be on the F1 calendar for 2023 remains to be asked, because we don't know for certain as to whether it's going to be on the calendar, as to subject to what's the situation in other locations, i.e. South Africa or China. We'll have to find out as we see Aaron White go for a spin as he just started his flying lap, so I don't think we're going to see anything special on that attempt. We'll go to Jay Luke as he's the next to start a flying lap. Do you want to take us on a lap of this Spa-Francorchamps circuit, Matt?
I'll certainly do my best, especially these dry conditions, which are the best for qualifying as you go up through Eau Rouge and the other corner, Radion. And up to the Kemmel Straight, DRS nicely activated. That should see you take all the time in the world to spot your braking point. Focus on the crane is just beyond there as you go into the first chicane there. Very nicely done for J-Luke, as he's definitely still on the power. Lifts off a little bit just so he doesn't get the understeer and slide, and through a very slow banking second, maybe low third gear corner, and then you have No Name here, and it's trickier than it looks. That you just pick a point, and then you have Pouon very closely followed. It's a little bit of a lift there, and you have to be careful with track limits as well. But he seems to have gotten away with it on this time around. And up to the second chicane now, and this line is looking very good. It's looking like a very tidy lap as well. And then you're about to approach the final sector as you just cross. There you go, through the end of sector 2, and it's a very fast sector 3 here at this track, which is always good to see. It's tricky still. You have to pay maximum attention, otherwise you could end off in the wall. But there you have a slight lift I think I detected there, just as you're not too sure with the cars in this early stage of qualifying. But you go through the bus stop, which was better when it wasn't reprofiled, but that's just my opinion. And there you go, J-Luke across the line with a 43.9. I'm sure we'll beat that, but that's a good time to start with.
Definitely so. It's a good banker there from Luke, so great start indeed. We just want to take a moment to apologise for the sound levels in case you can't quite hear anything from your end. We are doing the best we can to amend that. As you can see, Larkin going for a spin on the exit of Malmedy. You don't want to be hitting the wall like that. You can get rear wing damage, which could lead to an early session end for him. He may be able to get it fixed later on, but it's definitely not an ideal scenario. There's Cam Rolls, who's got a Williams right behind him. I don't know if they were battling for track position. Well, Cam Rolls has gone over the line. He's not done his time, but JM has. Now, JM, I'm not sure whether he'll feel aggrieved by the way Cam Rolls got past him. I don't know if he actually got past him, but yeah, it was a little bit of a strange scenario there that Cam Rolls about to start his lap and JM was just finishing his. As we watch some other drivers about to finish their flying laps, there is Mack in the Alpine. I don't know if he is going to be in the Alpine by the time the season starts in Miami in 7 days' time. Just looking to see who else is on the fast lap. Well, there's Del Gessu in the Haas. Goes over line to P3. Did mention earlier that Leslie Larson was the sole representative for Haas this season. Well, that other seat could well be filled by this man by the time we get going in Miami, Florida. Look to Excel in 16th position. Well, I say 16th. He hasn't set a time yet, but seems to be on a good lap here, Matt.
Yeah, it looks like a very tidy first sector and a bit there for Jake Hall there, but there's other drivers also out on track trying to prove their positions as well. But it's a very frantic session here in Spa-Francorchamps, and it always seems a little bit more hectic than others because it's such a long lap. Everyone seems to go out about the same time, and if they invalidate early, they tend to back off a little bit, regenerate the ERS, save fuel, maybe go in, change tyres. But with such a long lap, there's very little room for error, and if you do make an error, you have to hope that you don't end up ripping a wheel off of the car. But Jake Hill looks like he hasn't done that. He's on a pretty tight lap, but we'll see how far into the top 8 he will go, as he will cross the line very shortly, as he just negotiates the bus stop for this time on this flying lap and opens the throttle. There you go, opens DRS as well, and he will slot in provisionally pole position. That's a time,
and that's half a second faster than anyone else so far. So J. Cole setting the standard for everyone else to beat at the moment. Who else is on a faster? Well, Luke has gone third in the Aston Martin, a 1:44.0, over 6/10 off the pace. So there's definitely still some work to do, but nevertheless a good start to his session. Nick has just started his flying lap. Rich has gone for a spin in the Alpine. Larkin is not on a fast lap. It's invalidated at the moment. Larson's got a lap time on the board, albeit not a representative time, but he's definitely on a fast lap here, Matt, as he makes his way over through Lafanya and then coming towards what looks like Campus, and then the fast right-hander of Stavelo, all the way through past the trees, through Blanchemont, and then the bus stop chicane. He's definitely on course for probably only around about a 1:49 or something like that. Larson's not really going that quick, unless he was very, very slow through the bus stop chicane. We did see a lap time be posted there. That was Colin posting a 1:44.2 in the Mercedes. What can Larson do as he approaches the bus stop chicane now? 2 more corners to get through. 19 corners on this circuit. 10 to the left, 9 to the right. Larson over the line for 1:43.7, and that's good enough to put him on the front row provisionally.
Yeah, always handy to start in the first few grid slots on this track, especially with such a tiny run into turn 1. It is easy to make a mistake off the line as well. But you mentioned, Colin mentioned a few moments ago, I'm just currently on board with his teammate Nick Egan, who will seem to be trying to do better than his first time around, and he's definitely on course to be up there as well. So we'll see what he does as he comes around the bus stop and see how far up the grid he can put that potentially. Will he be provisional pole position? Yes, it will. There you go. There's another time, and they keep on improving, and Iron White's back on track after his early spin. So that's good to see.
Quarter of a second faster than XLJ Cole. That's a very, very good time. Here's Owen Wyatt, my former partner 2 seasons ago when we commentated alongside for the Prospect here it was. Very, very good individual. 20 years old now is Owen. Of course, he'll be watching his beloved Arsenal later this evening as the Premier League obviously kickstarts its new campaign. But back to the racing as Owen goes over the line for P3 for the time being, 1:43.4 in the Scarlet Ferrari.
Yeah, an Arsenal fan, an Arsenal in third. That's never going to happen, surely not.
Well, obviously. Well, whether they finish in the top 4, that's anyone's guess. But anyway, he's in the top 3 for the time being as we watch JM start another flying lap. I can't really tell how old the tyres are. I think he's still on an old set, isn't he, JM? So we'll look to see if he, unless he is on a new set. No, he's on a brand new set actually, it's JM. So this is definitely worth a watch to see how he gets on in the first sector. 0.08 of a second up, that's not too bad. Let's see how he gets on in the second sector, where downforce is very much essential for this part of the circuit.
Yeah, it's definitely always a tricky call to know how to set up your car. I've seen a lot of people running 0-0 wings, and that's not for me. But if you can pull that off, congrats. And that looked like a bit wide there, but he hasn't invalidated, which is all good for JM there. But he's definitely off the road there and still keeps it valid. That's quite an unusual line to take. But again, it all depends on, I guess, start application off. So I don't know how it works really. I never do. But sometimes you're on track and you validate there. But hey ho, there's a car facing the wrong way again. It's a red car. But JM is now finally, I say finally, like he's been trying to do it all out, but he's actually validated just as I say that. So that's unfortunate. But Schnitzel is on a lap as well, and he's slightly improving on this time around from his previous best at the session. So keep an eye on him. Let's see where he goes in about 45 seconds or so. Maybe a little bit less than that now, actually. It's going to be interesting to see where he can put that Alfa Romeo.
So 7 tenths up from what he had set by this stage of the lap on his previous attempt. So Schnitzel, I think, is going to be making his way over into the top 10 as he makes his way through Blanchimont. One thing I will mention is that TAS is not available to us this evening. It will be by the time the championship does get underway. So we just have to make do with what we are seeing on screen as much as you are. Schnitzel rounding the last corner now. This should be a 1:44, 1:44.4, and that puts him in 10th place.
Yeah, tidy lap. Nothing spectacular, but tidy is all you need to do. You'll find speed eventually. Consistency is key, though.
Delgesu making his way through Prawn now. I think he's on a fast lap. Okeke, I think he may have backed up on his fastest lap, but we'll go to him momentarily to see if I'm wrong. So as he's coming through, yeah, he made a mistake somewhere on the exit of the corner that has no name. So he's just making his way into the pits to get another set of tyres on. As there's only 5 minutes left in this qualifying session as Delgesu comes round through, or coming towards Blanchimont, I should say. And where is this going to put him, I wonder? He's on a 1:44.2 previously, so should he find 3 tenths overall on this lap, he could well go into the top 5. But let's have a look to see as he comes through the bus stop chicane. Gets the power down nicely. Doesn't use his DRS on the exit, but still goes up to 5th. So 2 Hasses in the top 5. It's not every day that you say that.
Oh, definitely not. It's good to see, though. Keep it up. And it's hard to know who to follow because everyone seems to be either on an in-lap or an out-lap at the moment, but we will keep the action coming to you here live and as soon as we can. But like you just said a few moments ago, Taz will be available from round 1 onwards, so that should help us figure out what the weather's going to be, what kind of strategies people might be on, and things like that. But that's to talk about in the race. But for now, you just got to do the best time that you can when you have the opportunity to do so. And like we said, it's fast and furious here, and there's only just a little bit under 4 minutes to go, and that has flown by.
Well, Mack is on a faster time than before in the Alpine. I don't know if he's going to find enough to move himself up the order. You can see he's just under 6/10 away from Schnitzel in 10th place. So I think Mack could well be staying where he is in P11 unless he finds a gigantic amount of time in Sector 3. Does he open the DRS on the exit of the bus stop? Yes, he does. And he only stays 11th, unfortunately. That one, Camrose is next to cross over the line in the McLaren. 12th at the moment is Cam. He goes up to 11th place. So he displaces Mack and goes up to P11 on the 6th row. Is there anyone on a fast lap at the moment? Well, I can tell you that Larson is on quite a very, very fast lap here in the Haas. It's a 1:43.7 that he's posted last time. How will he get on here, I wonder? Now, Larson, who is making his way through the bus stop now. How does he go about his business? He's come into the pit lane, Matt.
Yeah, I guess he didn't like how the car was feeling all lined up, or thinking he might be able to do a little bit better. Although he's cut it fine to get back out there to set any further times, such as the long pit lane and the long nature of the outlap that you'd have to do following change of tyres and etc. Maybe take some fuel out or whatever you need to do. But J-Luke is warming everything up. He's about halfway around his outlap, so keep an eye on him a bit later on in the session, as is J. Cole, who's a little bit further behind the driver I've just mentioned. So definitely some late movements going on here. I can definitely feel that, but yeah, I have absolutely no idea who's going to take pole position, and that's just the way we like it.
Yeah, well, Camrose is on an improvement through Sector 2 already, so can he make his way into the top 10? I will mention, now that we are on F122, is that the tyre rule, in terms of the top 10 starting on the same tyres as they set their fastest time in qualifying, well, that no longer exists. They can start on whatever tyres they like, which is kind of good for them because you have the choice as to what race to, or what tyres to start on, as Cam goes for a spin on the exit. And I think that's an example of how the handling has affected how the drivers perform on this game.
Oh, definitely, yes. If you want to see some more examples, then just go watch any, well, I was going to say Prospect, but it's not called Prospect this season. P4 tier drivers. We all had slightly different issues at various times, but of course, we had a wet qualifying down over there, so that was always a bit of an experience, I can tell you that. But yeah, a decent pre-season race out of the way for all of us down there, and we're ready to go next week. But there's going to be a lot of fast times being posted, and the last one is out of the session. We'll finish no higher than 4th today.
Looking at Larkin, who has yet to set a time, so we're not able to compare what he has done previously, but he'll want to at least get a lap on the board and move himself up the order. So Larkin making his way through Blanchimont. And how does he get on through the bus stop chicane? He gets on okay. Okay is not going to be setting a time, so he will start this pre-season race from the back of the grid. It's a 1 minute 43.6, and it's good enough to move him onto the second row. Nicely done there from Larkin. How does Rich get on? Lap time invalidated. I don't think he's got enough time to start another lap. No, he doesn't. So Rich will start also from the back of the grid. Here's Mack in the other Alpine. How does he get on in Sector 2? He's way off from before, so he's not going to be improving. Colin is on a fast lap. JM is on a fast lap. I'm just looking to see who's the next driver to cross over the start-finish line. I think it may well be JM. So these are the next ones to look out for. The checker flag is out now. So anyone on a fast lap can complete it. I didn't quite see whether JM actually improved in the second sector, Matt, but it does look quick by the way he's going about his business here.
Yes, I didn't catch the time, but it was purple on the mini-map, so he's definitely on a flyer. Let's see if he could wrestle provisional pole away from Nick Egan, who's currently there with a 43-1. This is going to be very close indeed as he rounds the final corner. The bus stop is negotiated, but he can only put it in P6. It looked like he was going to go a little bit faster than that, but he must have had a bit of an issue in the final sector, or maybe the end of sector 2 we didn't see.
Colin was on a flyer actually as well. Half a second up from before, goes up to 5th place with that lap time. How is Owen getting on through Blanchimont? We haven't seen any comparison for us to look at, but we can only assume that he is going faster than before, or at least attempting to. So how does he do in comparison to the others over the line? He comes, it's going to be a 1:43.0, goes fastest. Nicely done there from Owen Wyatt. Goes to provisional pole position. Nick is on a fast lap though, so could he snatch that away from him right at the bitter end? One corner to get through now for Nick in the Mercedes and over the line. And he takes back pole with a 1:43.0 by 0.06 of a second. That must hurt for Owen, but I'm sure he'll take second place on the grid nicely. XL Larkin doesn't improve. Cam K Mum is improving in the second sector, but he's not improving anywhere near enough to deny Nick pole position for tonight's pre-season race. He goes over the line now, but will stay 14th on the grid. A brilliant lap time there from Nick. 0.06 faster than his nearest challenger.
Yeah, if they carry on like this through the rest of the season, we're going to have one fantastic season to remember at the end of it. But yeah, that's first session out of the way, and 6,000 separated the first two drivers, and you can't really get much closer than that.
So Nick is on pole ahead of Owen Wyatt alongside. Then you've got J. Cole and Lukey next to each other on row 2. Then it's Larkin and Colin on the 3rd row. Larson and JM make up row 4. Then it's Delgesu and Luke on making out the top 10. Schnitzel and Camrals are on row 6, followed by Mac and Cam on the 7th row. And at the back with no lap time set, Rich and Akeke. So whilst we wait for the race to begin, Matt, I think it's a good opportunity to mention OHR's sponsors and partners for this season.
Yes, it's a perfect opportunity to mention the partners and sponsors that we are working with here at One Hub Racing. And the first sponsor we're going to mention today is Next Level Racing, who sponsor the league by providing the prizes for the drivers at the end of the season. And then we have Pure Sim Gear, sponsors the league by providing a pair of their sim racing gloves to the driver with the most combined poles and the fastest laps. And a new sponsor here at One Hub is Gamergoo, who sponsor the league by providing Gamergoo samples to all the trophy winners at the end of the season. So that's an interesting prize that I'm looking forward to seeing how that pans out. And then you have, of course, the wonderful partners here, Vespertine, who support our championship prizes, ERT partner, the ERT Going Its Tough Award and the league trophies. And our final partner is SimGrid. We are now powered by SimGrid. We run our seasons through their community and platform, and it's a great hub to keep all the standings and drivers one hub, if you will.
I don't know whether we'll have the formation that. I don't think it did so for the P2 or P4 race, did it? So I think we are just going to go straight into the race. So there are a number of drivers eager to do well in this one, particularly those who have come up from what is now known as the P3 tier. Those drivers including the likes of Cam K Mum, J Luke is another example, Lukey is another, and Rich. So they'll be very, very eager and conscious of doing well. It is a pre-season race, so no points on offer, but nevertheless a good taste for what's to come this season. So the drivers are on the grid, 16 of them. The 5 red lights will come on when they go out. We'll be racing here at Spa-Francorchamps. It's lights out and away we go. Nick gets off the line well, but not as good as Owen, who's alongside him as they come towards La Source for the first time. Owen takes the lead. Nick down to 3rd place by the time he gets to La Source. Lukey making an incredible start in the Aston Martin, and he's going to come out there in 2nd place. Nick continuing to drop back. Very, very poor start from him, and now it looks like his teammates got through as well. So Nick all the way down to 6th place by the time they get to Eau Rouge. Owen leads then ahead of Lukey, and it's the 2 Red Bulls of Larkin and J. Cole. Then it's the 2 Mercs of Colin and Nick. Larson in 7th place in the Haas. It's Luke, JM and Delgesu running out the top 10 so far as they come through the Kemmel Straight and coming towards Lacombe. And the 2 Mercs are going into battle. Nick getting back ahead of Colin into 5th place, and it seems to be very, very clean from lights out, Matt?
Yeah, seems to be. I haven't noticed any contact further on down the grid, but I am intrigued by Cam, Thomas Mack, and Cam K are all on the medium tyres. Everybody else has plumbed for the short-lasting soft tyre, so people at the back will probably be a little bit slower now, but could definitely come into it. And by this time in our P4 race, there was a safety car, so that definitely helped change strategy on the fly. So of course, there's always that to look forward to, but those on the mediums could well have an advantage the late they go on that tyre, so they can do whatever they want with last tyres. But of course, I think you only get one for a set of mediums now, which I found out to my detriment because I wasn't really paying attention to the rules properly, so that's on me. Luckily, it didn't cost me anything other than about an hour, but never mind. There's some decent moves being attempted already on lap 1 here at Spa, but no one has been able to get Owen back down to P2 where he started. Beluki is all over the gearbox at certain points, but yeah, it's definitely all go here.
We just saw J. Cole get ahead of his teammate on the exit of Stavlo. He got a better drive coming out of there, so he's up into 3rd position ahead of his teammate. Owen leads the race and at the end of lap 1 with Lukey in P2, and it's the 2 Red Bulls of J. Cole and Larkin. It's the 2 Mercedes of Nick who managed to get back ahead of Colin at Lecon. J. Luke is ahead of Larson now. He managed to get ahead of him towards the end of the opening lap. JM and Delgesso retaining their positions inside the top 10. Camerals is in 11th place, and Schnitzel is the first casualty in the Alfa Romeo, and Akeke just avoided him on the exit of Radion, and the safety car makes an early appearance. That was a wild accident, but thankfully no one else is involved.
Yeah, that easily could have been a 3, 4, 5 car pileup if it was any further up the grid, but yeah, unfortunately just the one victim, and I had a perfect view of that from the cockpit cam of Okeke's car, and very good reflexes to avoid that, I have to say. Props to him for that, because that easily could have been an innocent victim in all that, but safety car is out, so will the leaders box for mediums or hards?
I'm just looking to see who could possibly come in. You would think some of the soft runners, now to mention, it is definitely a good time to make a pit stop, because within the rules of OHR, you have got to make at least 2 pit stops in this race. Now, in terms of which tyres you could go on, that's entirely the driver's choice, but it must pit at least twice in this race. So if you're the race leader of Owen Wyatt, you are in a little bit of a more difficult situation as to whether you should take a pit stop now and sacrifice track position, or, you know, pit later, keep hold of track position, and maybe hope for another safety car to help retain his position at the front of the field. We'll have a look to see who decides to duck into the pits at the end of the opening lap. Now, does Owen stay out? No, he doesn't. He makes his way in. Now, does Lukey come in? He does. XL comes in, as will his teammate. Now, Red Bull have got a bad situation here, as will Mercedes, because their drivers are nose to tail pretty much. So Larkin and Colin are going to be held up by their teammates in this round of pit stops. It's going to be, well, it's going to be a merry-go-round, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be bad for the second drivers to double stack, as that's definitely going to hold them up, but it's not really going to cost them much given that there's a safety car out there. So I think if you have to double stack, you would do it behind a safety car, but it's not ideal. But OKK is all the way up into 3rd place, so starting from the back, but decided not to pit. So he might pit this lap, I don't know, but he's on the soft, so he'll have to pit sooner rather than later. But there you go. Cam and Tom Mack there, P2 on the mediums. They've come from quite far down as well.
Yeah, so those who had started on the mediums are now running 1 and 2. There was a 3rd driver that started on the mediums, but I think he's coming into the pits to change onto the hard compound. So Camerals is in the lead with Mack in 2nd place, and the Keke, who also started the race. Well, he didn't start on the mediums, he started on the softs, but he hasn't pitted, is what I'm trying to say. Owen has come out in 4th place in the Ferrari, so he's not lost too much track position in the Ferrari. Lukey in 5th place, XL 6th. Nick was able to get in front of Larkin in the pit stops because Larkin had to be held up, or had to double step behind his teammate. So that's the reason why Nick is ahead of him now. And it's the same with Colin, who's lost a few positions because he got held up by his teammate in the pits.
Yes, definitely unfortunate for Colin there, but great timing for Owen Wyatt there. He's still the net leader, of course, with the top 3 in front of him having yet to stop, but this race is only three and a bit laps old, but there's still plenty of action here to come. And the hard tyres, I'm led to believe, are actually quite good to run on. So expect Cam K and maybe Arson to do something towards the podium runners later on in the race, because they can go as late as they want and react to pretty much any situation. Being on the hards, they can control the race. Perhaps they've done one stop. They're on the most durable tyre, so it's going to be interesting to see who's got the right strategy today. We've got a mixture of softs, mediums, and hards out there. This is going to be a classic race for the archives.
We just saw Larkin go for a spin at Le Fagna, and he's dropped all the way back to last position. I mean, the safety car will still be out there for another lap, so Larkin will get to the back of the field once more, but he has lost time in places thanks to that spin, which is what you ill afford to have under a safety car, especially in that situation. But we've still got a long way to go yet in this one. We've got 19 laps remaining once the leaders do cross over the line, and Akeke seems to have come into the pits, as is XL. They may decide to go on a different strategy to maybe what they had in mind. Maybe they just wanted to do another lap on the tyres that they did.
Yeah, it's interesting, and you've got extra lock in again. Jake, I guess, doesn't want to use the hards. I think he had to switch them. Maybe he might go back to mediums and try and run them to the end. It's a brave strategy to try that from lap 4, but you're welcome to try. But it Cam rules out in front, behind the safety car. So we have an Aston Martin in the lead. Then you have McLaren in P1, as Aston Martin is the safety car. And then you have Ferrari of Owen Wyatt in P3. So it's definitely a good early signs for Owen Wyatt in pre-season. Of course, last season he had a fantastic pre-season race and then had an absolutely wretched run of form when the season started for real. So he'll be hoping to avoid a repeat of that, but he's definitely well placed to start the pre-season with a very good result, which should fill him with a whole world of confidence, especially when some drivers out there might not understand every little detail about how the car handles. So this is a valuable learning experience more than ever pre-season race here.
And just to let you know, on the point system within the OHR, because it's slightly different to what you may expect it to be in real life. Now, the top 12 score points in the OHR. You get 20 points for victory, 17 for second, and 14 for third, right all the way down to 1 point for 12th position. And you do get a point for getting the fastest lap. Now, from what I remember when I was commentating in season 19, if you are a finisher outside the top 10 and you set the fastest lap out of those outside the top 10, you get a championship point as well. Does that still exist?
As far as I'm aware, yes, that still exists. You can get the fastest lap point in and outside the top 10, and it's definitely key to keep going, because you never know when you may get a bonus point, either for finishing like 11th, you'd automatically get the bonus point being the only finisher outside the top 10. It's always good to know that every position matters here and every point is hard fought for. So definitely never ever give up, because you never know what's about to happen. But yeah, well, the safety car will be in. As you can see, the field is now backed right off to try and warm their tyres up properly to get going again. So when Cam Rules decides to go, he will go, but he probably won't be till after he exits the bus stop.
So Cam Rules can go as of when he wants to. What he can't do is then go and then jam on the brakes, which can cause all sorts of mayhem behind. So, you know, not to mention Magello, although it wasn't the race leader's fault. It just an incident happened as it bizarrely did. But anyway, the race is about to get underway now for Cam Rules as he crosses over the line to complete the fourth lap. 18 to go here at Spa, and we're starting to see a number of drivers losing it on the exit of that slow corner there. And Owen has got in front of Matt momentarily before Matt got him back. Now, can Owen get through on him into La Source? The answer is no, but he's got better drive coming out of La Source. He's probably going to wait until they get onto the Camel Straight to make a move. There's no DRS for the first 2 laps of the safety car restart, but I don't think that will trouble Owen too much as he gets into the slipstream of the Alpine, uses his ERS on the Camel Straight, and that was very much a slam dunk manoeuvre, wasn't it? Lukey's got past the Alpine as well. Second and third go to the Ferrari and the Aston Martin.
That was a great sequence of events there. I think what happened initially was Owen went past Mark and then thought maybe it was a bit of an early overtake, so let the Alpine driver passed, and then he got him outright down the camel straight, and then Lukey just followed him through. That was fantastic driving from all three there, and Nick Egan there in 5th place is having a good view of the battles ahead of him, and he's leading his teammate by a handful of seconds. So it's definitely pretty much as you were before the safety. Everyone seems to be filtering back to where they came from, so there's definitely a lot of excitement in the air, and I really don't know where to look next. It's fantastic.
Colin was 8th on the restart. He's made his way up into 6th position, so he's wasting no time passing. And we've got a spinner. It's Cam. Cam in from the race leader spun on the exit of Stavolo. Now he's pointing the wrong way. Now he's just got to be careful not to rejoin into the path of other drivers. The car is ghosted, so no one should hit him, but his front wing's damaged, and all that hard work has gone to waste for him, and he's lost a bundle of time there.
Yeah, it's not the first incident that I've seen of the week, because there's been a few, and now the drivers can really put the hammer down, because they seem to have a little bit more confidence than they did a couple of laps ago. But that's unfortunate to see Cam have an incident there. He'll definitely be in to replace that nose code, and see, might go hard to the end, don't know. It's up to the driver, of course. That's what I would do if I was last, but of course I didn't really last long enough for having any racing experience, given my issues earlier, but never mind, and that would have been an invalidation for me in quali, but never mind. Larkin is through into P14, and there's a little bit of battles going on in the midfield. There's a big train forming as well.
And Nick has just got past Mac as well into 3rd place, so Nick very much on a charge at the moment. There's an incident somewhere. Akeke's gone off the track on the exit of Lecom and getting the power down too much. Now you need to try and be smooth with the throttle when you're trying to rejoin the racetrack. You can't just, jam on the throttle, think it's going to reach 100 kilometers an hour quicker than it actually does. Because the thing is, that's when the wheel spin starts kicking in. Cameron's rejoined on a set of soft tyres, but we expect him to be back in the pits later on. He's got to pit again anyway, because, like I said earlier, there is a mandatory rule of having 2 pit stops each driver.
Yes, there is a 2-stop rule, and hopefully we don't have to remind people too often of that rule. But Larkin just got through when I didn't think there was any chance of an overtake. So that was a fantastic move. He just slipped it down the inside of guess who there. And yeah, I thought for sure he was going to have to go for the grass to overtake, but he just left enough room to get down the inside, and like a slippery snake, he got through. It's a P12, and now he's going to try and hunt down J. Luke.
Well, J. Luke is challenging the Ferrari of Cam K Mum as they approach the bus-stop chicane. Round the outside, it goes very, very late on the brakes. We have the inside line into the final part of the chicane, and he's through and up into 10th place. DRS is now enabled. J. Luke should be able to pull away, but I think Cam K Mum is going to have the benefit of the DRS by the time they get to the Camel Straight. This is the closest battle we've got at the moment, but hopefully there'll be more battles to come throughout the field, as we are now on the 7th lap of this race. Luke is pulling away now, so Cam came on. Will need to watch his mirrors of the Red Bull behind. He very nearly went over the chicane at Radion, but thankfully did not rejoin into the path of the Red Bull, and so the Red Bull is through into 11th position. That is Larkin. Now, does Gesu make his way through on the Ferrari as they approach Lecom? The answer is yes. So Gesu also sends Cam down the order, and so up into P12, and that's the Red Bull of J. Cole going for a spin on the exit of Malmedy. So that's him pointing the wrong way. The next driver to make a mistake on the exit of that turn. I think we've seen a few drivers do it throughout tonight at that corner. It's a very, very tricky one, because once you hit that bump whilst you're on the throttle, it sends you around very, very easily, doesn't it? And that's an AlphaTauri off the track, and there's debris everywhere, and the safety car has come out because of it, and Larkin's got a front wing missing as well, so he must have caused that collision with J. Luke.
Yes, it's definitely close racing, but I think they're getting a little bit too close and personal there. But there's definitely a few incidents happening in corners where you might not necessarily expect it to happen. But Cam Rules at the back is just coasting around, because we have, as you say, safety car, but I don't see anything on my screen to indicate that. I just see yellow flag, so I don't know if it's a full or a virtual. So apologies for that. We'll clear it up as soon as we can, but Owen's taking this opportunity to get on some more tyres, and of course Nick follows him in. Mac in P4. Colin will have a little bit of a gap, so he doesn't have to double stack, so maybe he might get a bit of an advantage on this occasion, but everyone is pretty much into the pits for hard tyres, I would imagine.
Yeah, do the Mercedes stack up behind each other? I don't think they did on that occasion, so I think they're okay this time. What I was going to say, I think answering your question, it is a full safety car because you can see the yellow dot on your screen on the track map to say that it's actually the safety car is on track. So Larson, the driver who inherits the lead now, he's already made one pit stop, but he's still yet to make another one as the race goes on. Owen Wyatt comes out in second place ahead of his teammate Cam K. Mom, who should serve as a buffer to his teammate on the restart to protect him from those behind challenging him for the race victory. Remember, there are no points on offer for tonight. It is a pre-season race after all, but nevertheless, it will still be good practice for when they kickstart their campaigns in Miami in a week's time. Now, since they really are under safety car, Matt, and you've got some people maybe watching and thinking, can I really get involved in OHR? Well, yes, you can. And how can they do it?
Well, there's obviously there's quite a few ways you can join the Discord server, and then all the information you will need would be in there. And we don't just do F1 here at One Hub Racing. We also have an Assetto Corsa Competizione series as well, and I hope that continues because it's taken me this long to work out how to pronounce the word. So yeah, there's always that as well. But I think F1 is really where One Hub is mostly known for, and it's a fantastic community. And there's also a lot of stuff we do during a race week, which not many, if any, leagues do. They have a full media day as well, and yeah, it's all fascinating, and it's pretty immersive as well. So there's definitely just worth checking out the Discord, and all the questions you will have will be in there.
And one of the things that OHR uses as well that not a lot of the other leagues use is the TAS, or Telemetry Analysis System, which we use to monitor whether drivers have got damage, whether they're setting green or purple sectors. There's a lot of miscellaneous stuff that we can have access to. Obviously not tonight because we don't have that, but when the season does begin, we will have the TAS. So we have all the analysis that you need to know for when the races are happening as they are. So do make sure you tune in for next week for all tiers, beginning with the P4 tier, then P3, then P2, and then P1. I think the first one is something like, 6 o'clock and then 6:45 or something like that. We'll look at the schedule in a little bit. But yeah, do make sure you tune in and make sure you follow OHR on social media, on the likes of Twitter, YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe so you can get notified on all the action that is happening, as well as Twitch also, because we do use both Twitch and YouTube for the races that are happening live, and will be commentated by whoever is within the OHR in the weeks going on.
Yep, there's also worth checking out the Twitter as well for all that information of who's going to do in the commentary box that week, or what races on Twitch or YouTube and things like that. And you can always find out more about the team behind the league by following the Twitter as well. There's some very good info on there pretty much all the time, so you can always be aware of things going on in the One Hub Racing community. And it's honestly, it's a fantastic tool to have, that as you mentioned. And yeah, we can, of course, as you say, it's not working this week, but next week, if you're watching a race, you can just go into the respective chat, whether it's Twitch or YouTube, and type !help, and that should give you all the infos that you need to know about what you could ask us to check out. So that's a really cool tool for our disposal. But we are having a race of two halves, I think, by the look of it. We're going to have quite a few safety cars in the first half, and then probably a lot of wheel-to-wheel action in the second. So yeah, everyone's stopped, and the majority of the field seem to be on hard tyres. But yeah, and if not everyone, there's a couple of mediums out there as well. So this is shaping up to be quite a fascinating pre-season race, and I'm looking forward to seeing what drivers have learned from this in action when we go racing for real next week.
There are 3 drivers who have yet to make their second stops in this one. Larson, the race leader, then we've just seen Lukey go down the order. Now, what's happened? Now, that's come right out of the blue, hasn't it? Lukey, who was running in 4th place, has made a mistake at Lefania and has lost a bundle of time. Now, he's overtaken a few drivers. I'm not sure if that's allowed. He's overtaken 2 Alpines there to get back into 9th position, but it seems to be the game is allowing it. So we'll find out maybe exactly what happened with that. But yeah, it was a pity that he's lost all that time through that spin. But what I was going to say was 3 drivers have yet to make their second stops. Larson, who is one of them, who's leading. Cam K-Mum in 3rd place. And Thomas Mack in 10th place in the Alpine. They are all on 1 stops. So the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. And Larson can dictate the pace, and he will go when he is ready to do so. Got 13 laps remaining here at Spa. He will come out on top by the end of this one. Now Larson just weaving to get some temperature into his tyres. It's a very long lap here at Spa, and we're back underway now. Nearly losing it on the exit of the bus stop. Struggling to get the power down by the looks of it. And Owen's going to go side by side with him as they approach La Sauce. Owen on the outside. Larson doesn't really fight it that much. And Owen goes through into the race lead. And I think it's going to be very hard for anyone to trouble Wyatt up front, given his genuine pace and the fact he's got his teammate behind him, and the fact that Larson has still got a second stop to make.
Yeah, it's definitely all signs are looking good for Iron Wyatt at the moment. But of course, this is the track that can bite hard, as we've seen on many occasions already today. Luckily, we've already had 1 retirement. We could have had so much more on another day. But yeah, of course, Cam also has to stop again. So that's all the pressure is on J. Cole, I think, because I think Cam may play some team games here and try and delay J. Cole as much as he can to give Owen a little slightly easier time up front, as there's yellow flags again, as OKK is now out of this race as well.
Yeah, it's a big shame there for Okeke. It looks like maybe he's done it. Oh, Owen spun at Pouon! I don't believe it!
Uh-oh.
He stays out of everyone's way, just misses the barrier, but that could well have cost him the race victory. Owen goes round, waits for the field to go past before he rejoins. Oh, make sure you don't get a disqualification going around the wrong way there, Owen. He rejoins. But that is going to cost him big time, isn't it?
It is, yes, and please don't watch this back, because I think the commentator's curse may have struck again. It only gets stronger, this one, and it's very much regrettable, but it happens, unfortunately, so apologies for that. And of course, to every driver watching, apologies on the very small chance that I do give you a commentator's curse at any point this season. I'll apologise now and get that out of the way. But yeah, now we have a brand new race leader, and net leader as well is, of course, J. Cole, who's now in pole position for the same reasons as we've just spoke about, in that Cam and Larson in front have to box again. But J. Cole has done it twice. He's on the hard. He should be going to the end. Probably will be going to the end. And Nick Egan is in P2. It's pretty much where he started, and he had a shocking start, but he's managed to call back to net P2, and this has been a topsy-turvy race, and there's no signs of it ending, and this is just fantastic.
Yeah, and just want to mention that JM is the first driver to receive a time penalty in this race. That will be for track limits. He's done very well to get all the way to lap 10 before we see any driver picking up a penalty of any sort. As we can see, Camrose and Larkin go side by side. Larkin getting his elbows out there through Malmedy, and he's gone through and up into 11th place. So Larkin on the inside. Does Camrose keep his foot in it? Leaves him enough room through Bruxelles, and the Rebel goes through without any issues. Colin is behind JM in the battle for 7th place as they go through Pouon, and Colin will want to get into the slipstream, maybe go from moving to La Fugne. It's not the ideal place to do it. It's quite a blind corner, very fast as well. JM rightly defending his position, as he so ever does. And we see Lukey right on the tail of the AlphaTauri of Luke in the battle for 5th place.
Yep, of course, J-Luke and Lukey find themselves together on track, just as I said that they would do at the top of the qualifying session. So this is commentators' nightmare. They are very good racers, and they always seem to bring out the best of each other. But Lukey just can't find a way through. But he goes a little bit different line through the bus stop, but he still can't quite. Has he got the traction? Yes, he has. I think he may well be up into P5, but J-Luke will try and do some sort of switchback. He's gone a little bit deeper. Nope, he can't get that done. So that is Lukey up into P5.
We just saw Cam and Excel also fighting for 2nd place at the bus stop chicane. And now they're going into battle again. And Excel nearly losing it on the exit of Radion. He's still not going to have the DRS. But look at Nick driving all the way through. A drag race to Lecom. And Nick takes advantage of Excel and Cam K's melodies and goes through and up into 2nd place. A very splendid manoeuvre there from the Mercedes driver. as Jay Luke picks up a time penalty, as well as does Colin, who both have penalties. And we've seen a lot of changes up and down the field. I think someone has made a mistake somewhere, and it looks like there's an Aston Martin going slow. That's Luke. I wonder if he's maybe gone through the chicane or something like that, but he's dropped back down to 11th position as a result of it.
Yes, I think he's probably gone deep through the chicane, or maybe had a half spin or something, because I did see a brief yellow flag in that area of the track, but it's all cleaned up now, and we will see who's going to make an advantage. And J. Luke has got through. Has he? No, he's dropped a position. Has he gained one? I don't know what's going on. There's yellow flags all over the course. I think
the safety car's deployed, Matt. The safety car's deployed,
Yeah.
and I can only imagine it's because of debris. Owen Wyatt's got no front wing to his car, so that's interesting, because obviously he's right at the back of the field, with maybe no chance of getting back unless there was another interruption in the race, and now he's taken his front wing off and left over debris left on the circuit. Now, I'm not saying he's obviously fixed the race, because he's lost his front wing, has made the safety car come out. He's obviously made a mistake somewhere, but yeah, now that he's going to be able to get that front wing replaced, he's going to be able to get back into the action after all this.
Yeah, it's interesting to see who there's quite a few cars pitting as well, but Nick Egan is not one of them. He's confident he can hold off all challengers on this tyre that he's on, and his teammate is right behind him. So that is a fantastic race so far for the Mercedes pair. And of course, J. Luke up into P3. You just saw him being hard to overtake. So if he's in the mix as well, anyone could win this game, this race. And there's still quite a handful of laps to go, and it's still not decided yet. There's definitely going to be at least, I'd say, about 5 or 6 racing laps at the end. Give the safety car some time to make the track safe for racing again, and everyone picks the tyres. And I'm just checking that everyone has made their mandatory stops. They have indeed. Well, Larkin's taking the mickey. Actually, he's on 5 stops now, bless him. He's not having a great afternoon, but he's still in P10.
So we've got 2 Mercs at the front, with Nick in the lead and Colin in second place, despite him picking up a 3-second time penalty for track limits. And like you say, everyone has now made 2 pit stops each. What I was going to say is that if you look at the fuel gauge at the bottom of the screen, you may notice there's a lot of red fuel gauges, which can only mean one thing. Some drivers may need to conserve fuel at the end of this race. Well, this is why we've got all these safety car periods, because people are almost preempting that there's going to be safety car periods, and also chance of saving fuel under this, so that they can, race with less weight on the car when you have more fuel on board. That's what Nick, Colin, and all those would have been thinking at the beginning, so that if we have safety car periods, this is the 3rd one we've had in this race so far, in case you ask. And yeah, I think we could well be seeing a number of drivers maybe conserving fuel by the end of this. Hopefully not, but that's something to keep an eye out on nevertheless.
Yeah, I think they've possibly slightly under fuel with the high probability of at least one safety car here, but I think they should be okay. I think it's when it starts flashing, you have to or change its colour to like sort of yellow. I think that's when they're in real danger of a fuel shortage. But I think it's definitely a high throttle percentage of the track, so it's definitely worth considering your strategy that way as well. Do you overfuel and get mugged if there isn't a safety car? Do you underfuel and get caught out if there's? It's another element of the strategy, but of course Taz would tell us exactly who's short of fuel in this situation. But yeah, it's always something to think about, as it looks like Mark has gone in to the pits again. Has he got damage, or is this just a tactical stop? Can't see any damage there. I'm going to keep an eye on the picker, see if they got a front wing waiting for him. Seems a slightly odd time to take another pit stop. It's just tyres by the look of it, so that's interesting.
He's put the hard tyres on. I wonder, maybe he's thinking ahead here. I don't think maybe he would have got to the end on the mediums, so it's an interesting pit stop he's made there as Mac. Lukey's in the pits as well. He's back on the set of mediums. Now, as far as the game is concerned, I think there is a default allocation. Is it something like 4 softs, 1 medium and 1 hard for the race? Something like that?
I believe that is the case, which is going to be annoying, because I like to run 2 mediums in a race, but have the options available to do that, I should say, but now I can't do that, so it's going to have to find another way of practicing and getting some tyre use, I guess. But I think that is definitely what you say. I think there's definitely 4 softs available and 1 medium and hard, which I think there's going to be a lot of things to look back on and think, yes, I'm going to do this better next time, or I didn't do this so well. And I think that's going to be something that changes on a week-to-week basis. But this is Spa. This is one of the tracks that you said at the top of the stream that is under serious threat of being on the F1 calendar for much longer. And I can see why, but at the same time, it would be sad if you didn't see all those wonderful sights that you do see around the track. Look at all these beautiful trees you can see when you're driving around. It would be a shame to lose that, but if we replace it with a better track, then I don't think anyone will be complaining. Just don't give us another 90-degree left, 90-degree left, half a right and all that stuff, you know. Just give us back a proper track.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of permanent racetracks all over the world that Formula 1 could go to. The only thing is, with there being 24 venues maximum that they could go to throughout the calendar year with the Concord agreement that they have, you know, they can only go to so many. There's like over 40 circuits that could feasibly host a Formula 1 race, but only so many of them can make the cut. The safety car is coming in at the end of this lap. What I was going to say was that Nick has competed in the Pinnacle tier, or P1 tier as it's known as. He ended up in 15th overall with 21 points. His highest finish would have been in 6th in round 6. So we'll be hoping for redemption this season. Hopefully pick up a good few victories and find himself back in the P1 tier for season 22. Well, the race is about to get back underway now. Nick leads his teammate, who will look to protect him from those behind. We begin lap 15 as Nick pulls away. He's already nearly a second clear as we watch Luke make a bit of a look on Colin as they come through La Source. Rick is up there in 4th place. He's going side by side with the McLaren of Camrose as they look to go through Eau Rouge. Who's going to blink first as they come into Eau Rouge together? It's the McLaren, and wisely so. Thankfully, they don't make contact. Rich didn't get the best of exits, though, on the exit of Radillon. And now it's going to be a drag race all the way down, all the way up through the Camel Straight, I should say. Who is going to break the latest into Lacombe? Camrose gets ahead. Rich gets pushed out wide by the Haas. I think Rich might have lost connection. I think he might have lost connection of some sort. But either way, Camrose is up into 4th place, Larson 5th. Yeah, I think Rich has lost connection of some sort, so he'll be dropping down the order as a result of it. But I might well be wrong. Yeah, I think he's staying out of everyone's way because I think he might have picked up damage or something.
Yeah, it was definitely a small tap that sent one car in the background sideways, and then seemed to be a bit of a concertina effect with 3 or 4 cars going by. But I think whatever the issue was, it did look like he was ghosted for longer than he would be. So I think there's issues there, but he's now all the way down to P14. Lukey back up into P13, and soon back into the points. He's on the better tyre from Matt. What did I just see there?
And someone has gone for a spin. Is that Owen who's gone for a spin? It is.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's had another spin. So Owen having an absolute nightmare of a race. We wouldn't have expected this at the beginning. And Camrose has spun round as well at Blanchimont. So Camrose pushing too hard there. He must have maybe caught the inside curve, which is very easy to catch, and lose it. But thankfully, he's kept his car going. Owen will be back in the pits at the end of this lap for a new front wing. 2 Mercs out in front. J. Luke 3rd ahead of Larson.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be tricky for Owen to get back, but luckily he doesn't have too much further to recover that Ferrari. And it's just, maybe he's having an inverse of last season. He's had absolutely shocking pre-season race, but maybe he's going to go on and do some amazing things in the regular season. Whereas, as I said earlier, last season he had a storming pre-season race and just didn't have any form till about round 5 or 6. Of course, in the Pinnacle tier, the top tier this season is running line only this time around. So some of these guys were in the top tier last season, but with a new game cycle and a new game in general, everyone's just had a reset, and some people will be slightly quicker than they were last season, and some people will be slower. So there's always going to be some changing of the guard, but you're always going to have, whatever tier they're in, you're always going to have fantastic battles on the track.
Absolutely, and Rebels are running 4th and 5th at the moment. I think going on to what you were saying about who would be faster and slower than last season, it's going to come down to who's going to adapt to the latest handling, because there has been a recent patch update on the handling itself to help drivers get better traction coming out of corners, I would say, because that's when the drivers are losing it coming out of the slower corners. But thankfully, the patch, I think its intention is to help improve it. As we see Owen going for yet another spin, it just hasn't been his day, has it? I think he's so desperate to get this race on it. And now the safety car is out again. So Owen will have another bite at this.
Yeah, it would be quite something if, after all this, Owen White could come through the field and take victory from the jaws of defeat. But Nick Egan must be getting a little bit fed up of seeing the safety car out on the track. He's just trying to manage the gap, and now, of course, he's lost his teammate to a fresh set of soft tyres, so he won't have that buffer on the next restart. So it could be a very different story for him. But Larson's done quite well to get back up to P2, and Jake Hull back up into P3. Yeah, I think all of these drivers have been in all the positions left in the race at some point today. It's wonderful stuff.
I can tell you that Del Gesso's made 5 pit stops in this one. Lukey's made 5 as well as Larkin's made 5. So it's been a very busy day for the pit crews, it has to be said, as we watch the drivers just go past the safety car. Owen will want to be doing that as well very shortly. He'll get another set of these soft compound tyres on, no problem. So we've got 6 laps to go. I would expect we'll be under... once the leader catches up, I would say we're going to be under the safety car for at least a couple of laps. So that will give us enough time to mention the partners and sponsors once again. And I'll go ahead and do the honours on that one. So Next Level Racing, who sponsored the league by providing the prizes. Pure Sim Gear, who sponsored the league by providing a pair of their sim racing gloves to the driver with the most combined total of pole positions and fastest laps. And Gamergoo, who sponsored the league by providing Gamergoo samples to the trophy winners. On to our partners, Vespertine, who OHR are partnered with, support the championship prizes. ERT partner up with the Going Gets Tough Award and lead trophies. And last but not least, SimGrid, who are powering the OHR with the seasons through their community and platform. As there is an update to the website recently, now compared to what it was in season 19. As the race leader, Nick, comes into the pits, he'll be wanting to get a set of soft tyres on before he catches up to the safety car. And to be quite honest with you, I don't blame him one bit. So yeah, there has been an update with the website, hasn't there? Because SimGrid have obviously powered up with One Hub Racing with the website, so you can have a look to see all the season's results, how they're done in all the tiers, including the podium tier, the pinnacle tier, the prospect tier, and all that. That is now known as the P1, P2, P3, and P4 tiers for season 21. There's all the updates you can have a look at on that website if you want to find out more on what's there.
Yes, it's a fantastic partner we've got there in SimGrid, and it just makes everything easier. It's more condensed and in one space. You can see who's in form in all the tiers without having to go through many different spreadsheets to find that out. And you just click on the One Hub Racing page, and it'll take you to all the racing series that are going on at this time under the One Hub Racing banner. And of course, every league on SimGrid will do that, but One Hub Racing has quite a few leagues going on, and that's always good to see that they're supporting us in this really awesome way, and it's very much appreciated. And of course, I think while we have a quiet moment, I should thank the TAS guy in preparation for next week, who provides all the TAS for the commentators here at One Hub Racing to use every week. So thanks to them and all the staff at One Hub Racing for making everything work as seamlessly as possible.
So through all this, Larson is now back into the lead on his medium compound. Excel's in second with JM in third place, who has a penalty hanging over him. Now, I think what it's going to come down to by the end of this race is who is not going to have a penalty to their name and who will. And if you don't have a penalty, well, the good chances are you could well be scraping a podium finish out of it. Most definitely a points finish, because the top 12 do score points. There's no points on offer tonight, as it is a pre-season race. And what I will mention to you is that this is not the last race of tonight's action in One Hub Racing. There's the P1 tier pre-season race also at Spa-Francorchamps, which you'll be able to watch on the YouTube channel of One Hub Racing if you are watching live. So if you are watching live and wanting to see any more action within OHR, there is the P1 tier race coming up very, very soon, if not right now.
Yes, I recommend staying here though before you dash off and watch that race, because we're in for a grandstand finish here at Spa, and we're just about to start lap 19, which by my reckoning should be the last lap of the safety car this week for this tier, and we'll have 3 laps at the end, a 3-lap shootout. Bring it on. Cannot wait for this. It's going to be fantastic.
So with there being 3 laps of racing, hypothetically, which means we'll only have 1 lap of DRS, which is going to make it very, very interesting, especially for those who have only just put on a set of the soft compound tyres. The front runners, Larson, J. Cole and JM, who are on mediums and hards, they're going to find it very, very tough to hold off those behind. So it's going to be a very, very tasty restart and a brilliant run-in to tonight's race here at Spa. Owen's managed to catch up to the back of the field, so he's going to have a chance of fighting his way back through the field, but he cannot afford any more mistakes now between here and the checker flag. He's got to really take it very, very steady on the way through, because he has had a number of mistakes earlier tonight. We thought he was going to run away with it once he took the lead at the end of the second safety car restart, I think it was, or the first one, I can't quite remember. And he just totally threw it away. And that's what happens. And things like that can happen at any time, can't it?
Yes, they unfortunately can, and very often do, especially in this wonderful sport of league racing. It can happen to us. It can happen to real life F1 drivers. It just happens. It is what it is for them. But yeah, he definitely can't afford any more mistakes today. And he's got a great chance to get heavily into the point here on fresh softs. Of course, the drivers ahead of him are also on there, but I think he's been quicker than most of the field today. Anyway, so he's got a fantastic chance to do just that. But out at front, it's Nick Egan's in a fantastic position. He was on the soft tyres. Those in front of him are on the hard, directly in front of them, the mediums for first and second. So he's got a great chance to maybe out-tractor them out of corners or whatever. Just utilise all the extra grip and just swing around the outside. And of course, he's still got a chance, but it could always go very wrong as well. So Larkin will be behind him, trying to put his own spin on the potential race win. So safety car in this lap. So Larson will be backing off, backing the field up, just to do his own thing, warm up the tyres for one final push. Let's see who comes out on top in just a few short laps.
Looking at the fuel gauges on these cars, they're still red. So I think some of them could well be struggling on the last lap. They have very, very... because it is a high-powered circuit, is Spa, so that obviously increases the fuel consumption. There's going to be a lot of drivers going to be struggling in these last few laps because there's not going to be a safety car period. Now, there may well be a VSC later on, but that's the last saving grace for them if it does happen, if there's like debris on circuit or whatever. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting end to the race as Larson pulls away on the restart as we've got Owen Wyatt out of the race. Now, what's that? Has he lost it on the exit of Blanchimont? I think he has. So his race has come to a premature close. It's been an absolutely shambolic race for the Ferrari driver, but luckily there's no points on offer as we watch the Red Bull dive into the inside of Nick into turn 1. That's Larkin going through, makes contact, and very nearly drops it on the exit of the hairpin. He falls back behind the Mercedes as we are now into the final few laps of this one. Larson leads by nearly 2 seconds already, so he's giving himself a great buffer going into the last few tours of this Belgian Grand Prix.
Yes, that is a fantastic buffer, and the fight with Larkin is something Nick did not need. He's on a mission to possibly win this race, and of course now he's going to be stuck behind JM69 for longer than he'd like to on the fresh tyres. He can't quite use them to his full advantage. He may have to go last of the late breakers into this corner, and of course he does that slightly. He's through, but of course Larkin will follow Nick straight through, and they're going to have another little bit of a ding-dong in a couple of laps. And now Nick is the meat in the Red Bull sandwich, and that's not a great place to be, but he's still on the podium and still got a chance to win this race. But of course Larkin will go with him as well, but of course Larkin has penalties that Nick does not. The top 3 should finish in that, not necessarily in that order, but in the top 3 for lack of penalties, unless something monumental happens in the final couple of laps and they all get some. It's definitely going to be a penalty-less podium as it stands. And of course, guess who down in P7, also penalty-free, as is Cam in the sole remaining Ferrari at this stage, penalty-free, and Lukey and Cam in the Aston and the McLaren also penalty-free. So they could definitely stand to benefit at the end with such little time left to go to the end. And yeah, it's been a crazy race, and we're not done yet.
No, not done yet. And just looking at the fuel gauges, they seem to have unlit itself now. So they are going to be able to go to the end on the fuel that they are on. I've just seen JM going toe-to-toe with Colin on the exit of La Source. Colin will have the high ground, or will he? Because JM fights back, keeps hold of the position, but not for long, because Colin's going to be into the slipstream of the Williams, and I think he's going to fight his way through. Cam has lost connection somehow, so he's going to fall to the back of the field inevitably. As JM holds off Colin for the time being, so doing his best to hold on. Now, Bruxelles last time around was where he outbrakes himself and Colin nearly dropping it at Malmedy, but gets away with it.
Yes, but Thomas Mack didn't get away with it. He's now fallen to the back of the field and out of the... If there were any points on offer, he wouldn't be getting any. But this is just a pre-season race, just to tune everything up and make sure all the commentators are back on the game, all the drivers are shaking off their summer holidays and all the slumber and everything that comes with that. Lukey gets a 3-second time penalty. That's not going to change too much, other than he might drop a position at the end, but the leaders is what you really want to know. Top 3 still penalty free. And of course, Larkin is going to make life difficult for Nick.
So watching the Mercedes make a run on JM on the exit of Stavelot. Side by side they go. There's an incident in sector 3. That's the Aston Martin of Lukey, who's gone round again. Colin to the outside, goes past JM into 5th place. That was a nice move as Lukey drops back to 13th position, but he's able to continue. As we go on to the last lap of the race now. Larson continuing, Lukey out of the race. He's calling it quits. He hasn't crashed, he's just retired from the pause menu, but that won't affect things further ahead. The DRS has now been enabled, so this is a chance for anyone to get some extra straight line speed on the Kemmel Straight and make a move. As we watch the Mercedes of Nick and the Red Bull Larkin go toe-to-toe on the exit of Radion. Who's going to have the DRS on the exit? It's going to be the Red Bull. So Larkin's going to make a move on the Mercedes. Does he go to the inside? He does so. Does he get through on Nick? The answer is no, and he spins. So Larkin spins around on the last lap for Red Bull at Les Combes.
Oh, no.
As the field goes past him. So that's a podium gone for him.
And Nick's improving the podium as well. He spun next corner round. It's all gone badly, badly wrong for him. The way I thought it, I mean, he still might get a podium out of this. He's not out of the picture. He's penalty free, but the guys in front of him not necessarily. But he's dropped to 7th, and that is going to hurt. Even though it's a pre-season race, he's still going to think he's thrown away a podium. And yeah, definitely something to work towards. But it looks like Larson is going to control the field for the rest of this final remaining half a sector or just over that. And yeah, Colin's going to find himself on the podium. This has been a fantastic race.
It's not been bad, has it? Despite the audio issues, we can only apologise for that. But the race leader, Larson, is going to come round the last turn here, or the last couple of corners, to take the pre-season race in the P2 tier of One Hub Racing. Larson, for Haas, leads J. Cole over the line, and he wins here in Belgium. Very nicely done there for the Haas driver. He wins. Cole crosses over the line in erratic fashion, I should say. Colin crosses the line, but does he keep a space on the podium? No, it's not. It's Gesu. So 2 Haas's on the podium. Larson wins ahead of J. Cole and Gesu. There's the 2 Mercs of Colin and Nick in 4th and 5th. There's the Ferrari of Cam K. Mum and J. Luke. JM, Rich, Camrals, Mac, and what looks to be Larkin rounding out the finishes. But there's your race winner. It's Larson in the Haas.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how we got to that result. It's crazy. We'll pick a driver of the day in a moment after we've gone through the provisional final pre-season results. I don't think there'll be any stewards' inquiries of this one, but if there are, then you'll find out on the socials at some point next week when all the decisions have been published publicly. But I will hand back to go through these provisional results as we see the celebrations of the fictional champagne.
Yeah, well, the drivers will very much be practicing for the weeks ahead, especially in Miami, in gorgeous Florida. I mean, the podium is very much where the Hard Rock Stadium is staged up, which is very, very nice to see an American football team stadium being used for like a podium for Formula One. We saw it earlier this year when the likes of Christian Horner and his wife were going on this sort of buggy or something towards the podium. It was quite something else, wasn't it? But I'm not expecting that next week anyway. But nevertheless, we are very much looking forward to Miami. So last this year race winner with J. Cole in second place. Guess who third had a Colin and Nick in the 2 Mercs. Cam was 6th for Ferrari, had a J. Luke and JM. Rich in 9th, had a Camerals. Mac in 11th place for Alpine. Larkin, the last of the finishers, in 12th. Lukey was classified in 13th despite retiring a couple of laps from the end. Wyatt retired, as did Akeke and Schnitzel. Right, so decision time. Your driver of the day, Matt, who are you going for?
Yeah, I like to preface this by saying there's quite a few candidates, and we say that every week, and people generally think we're just saying it for effect, but generally, no. There's been so much going on, but I will plump for the Ferrari driver of Kamke, who came from 14th to 6th with 3 stops. And I would ask him if he was aided by the safety car period towards the end of the race. Did that help his result at all?
So my driver of the day, I'm going to go for the race winner of Larson. I just think he's able to make the 2-stop work, despite the fact that he was on the medians for the last few laps, and we felt that he could well be a sitting duck on the restart, but he was able to pull away a really, really nice margin on those final few laps and hold on to the victory. So Larson is my driver of the day, and that's very nicely done. Can he carry that through into the races as the season begins? Well, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone for tuning in tonight. Well, thank you to the drivers for competing and keeping it relatively clean throughout tonight's action. There's still the P1 tier race that you can watch on YouTube right now if you are watching live, so do make sure you tune into that. Make sure you like and make sure you follow One Hub Racing's social medias on like Twitter. Get involved on Discord if you wish to get involved, you know, whether it's racing or commentary or anything else, whether you want to maybe be a moderator or something like that. So if you do wish to get yourself involved, then do please get involved with the Discord of One Hub Racing, and all the details are shown in the description below, if I'm correct, Matt.
Yep, they're down there. Yep, there's and it tells you the days that the leagues race and everything. It's pretty cool, and yeah, just check out the links if you want to get involved, and maybe we'll see you out on the track next week or in future weeks.
No problem. And Evan Dalton will be back in the commentary position alongside you, Matt, as well next week once he returns. And I'll be available obviously next week. So if anyone can't make it for whatever reason, then I should be available to step in for whichever tier I get asked to do as well. Thank you to everyone, and thank you to the sponsors as well, the likes of Next Level Racing, Pure, Sim Gear, Gamergoo, Vespertine, ERT, and SimGrid for partnering up with OHR for the work that they do here and providing the racing, or helping to provide good broadcasting, good racing, good commentary as well to go with it, and everything else involved. We'll leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us, and do make sure you tune in for next week for all the action here at One Hub Racing. I'm Tom Cairns, he's Matt, and we'll speak to you again soon when One Hub Racing returns.